This week in the shop. These are going to be new videos that I'm going to try to post about once a week, where I go over all of the things that are happening here at JSP. Many of you who may have not been following us for a long time might not know that JSP is actually a very small company of just me and my wife, and we are in charge of doing everything that there is to do around here in the company. So once a week, I'm going to try to do a video just giving an overview of what's going on in the shop this week. So let's start with what's going on in the shop this week. About a week and a half ago, we sold out of all of our K24 mounts, so we're in the process of restocking them. Last week, I ran all of these base plates for the driver side and passenger side mounts on our K24 swap kits. After the parts are machined, they're usually laid out on the table like this to be cleaned, and then they're going to get moved over to the other side of the shop into the assembly area. That's where I'm going to assemble them with their bosses. So that leads me over to our VF2 machine and all of these raw blanks here. These are going to be all of the K24 mount bosses. These are the driver side bosses, these are the passenger side bosses, and my job tomorrow morning is probably going to be to set up one of these here in the VF2 so that we can start running them over the weekend. What was just running here in the VF2 was our A86 radiator brackets. So these are all finished. These are going to get sorted. Some of them are going to get sent out for black anodizing. The ones that aren't going to get anodized are going to get cleaned and get their insulators attached to the bottom so that they can be bagged and also put back into stock. Over in the VF1, we're restocking our OG shift knob inserts. These are the M10 1.5s. They're done in a 2-station vise. Sometimes we'll do 4 at a time, but right now we're doing 2 at a time. 2 in the op1 position on the back, 2 in the op2 position on the front. These come out complete. They get cleaned. Some of them go to anodize, and then the other ones are going to just get the JSP lettering embossed onto the side, and that's done on the 4th axis rotary here. So we're going to finish up these M10 1.5s. You can see I've run a couple of them already today, and then we're going to switch over to the M10 1.25s and the M12 1.25s. The VF1 will probably be running inserts most of this week and going into next week, so not much is going to happen there besides shift knob inserts. But over in the DM2, this machine is going to be super busy for the next week. Right now, it's running our stop plates for our reverse lockout shifter. This is the part that prevents your transmission from going into the reverse gate. Unless you push the shifter down, then you can bypass this block-off plate. This is done in 2 vices, 2 for the op1, 2 for the op2. I just set this up today, so I only have a couple of them done. But this is a pretty cool little part. This is the surfaced area where the pin for the reverse lockout function slides. You can see there's actually kind of a curve, and that follows the motion of the shifter itself. These come off the machine completely deburred, ready to be cleaned and bagged so that they can go out with all the shifters. Here's the raw material that comes in from Industrial Metal Supply. We used to buy them in a bar length and then bandsaw them here ourselves, but we find that now it's actually more affordable to have them bandsaw the stainless steel for us than for us to be going through blades and doing the setup and sitting next to the saw and cutting them all ourselves. So they come pre-cut so they can go right into the machine. It's probably going to take about 2 days to finish all of these plates in the DM2. And then up next for this week, these long bars here are actually our BA4 3rd gen Prelude rear subframe braces, which we just sold out of. So we're just going to make 6 of them just to get them back in stock before we can do a larger batch. We would do a larger batch, but we've got a lot of other things to go in this machine. These 2 bags here are actually full of our A86 tension rod spacer material, which we're just about out of stock on too, and we sell quite a bit of those, so we don't want to get behind on it. Moving over to the lathe area in the shop, the 34 sub spindle is not really doing anything this week, so it's just going to stay off. This normally does our suspension parts and our traction bracket washers, things like that, anything that requires a sub spindle. Our single spindle lathe is going to be busy this week though. Right now I'm currently running the shifting rods from our reverse lockout shifters. Here's what I've got done so far. This is an M12 thread, M12 1.25 thread, and these are also stainless steel rods. This is a pretty simple setup in here. It machines, this one just finished on the back side, but the raw stock goes in first, it cuts the thread side, then there's a stop in the middle of the program, you pull it out, you flip it back around, and then it chamfers off the back edge. These come in raw stock in the bag. Finished ones get set up here. Once they're all done, they go over and they just sort of get a light deeper and then cleaning before some of them get bent. And the ones that don't get bent are just straight backed. So these are going to be running probably for the next day or so as well. Not entirely shop related, but this weekend I get to swap the engine on my 2015 Toyota Prius C. So I've had the car since new, and about 15 or 20,000 miles ago, it started developing a head gasket issue where it's consuming coolant, having a rough starting when it's cold. And so I purchased this used engine from a wrecking yard. It's got about 55,000 miles on it. It's going to replace the 260,000 mile engine that's currently in the car. That's what I get to do this weekend. Probably not going to happen this weekend or this week at all, but here's the status of the H22 engine for our 3rd gen Prelude. It's completely cleaned. The new oil pan is on and sealed up with a new gasket. Everything's tidied up, and I need to send the head out to get done before I can put it back in the car. But it's starting to look pretty good. Real clean now. I'm excited to get this back in the car. My last major focus for this week is to finish all the programming on our 20 valve 4AG valve covers that we're working on. The programming for this is pretty significant. I probably already have maybe 5 to 8 hours of programming done. I'm just about done with the second operation. I still need to program the valve cover gasket groove around the cam caps. Hopefully next week I can machine the prototype, and I'll be posting that on Instagram, giving an update on how that prototype goes. So that's what we got going on this week. Next week, I'll try to make another video about what's going on this week.